There were no decisions made in executive session.
Amanda said that she is not gonna be able to come in. She wanted to give you some information, but the state doesn't have it quite done yet, so she'll tune in next week. See if Cody can come down.
Boy, did I get in trouble yesterday. I went over and got my 3 grandsons their Easter, or not Easter, Valentine's. I give them each a 3-pound candy bar.
That is.
Yeah, that's funny.
Where'd you get that
Who makes
anyway?
those?
What?
Who makes those?
I got them from Walmart.
Well, the 3-pound?
It was a 3-pound Hershey candy bar, and I give each one of them one of them. My daughter was, I don't even want to let you in the house.
Or make you stay here longer even.
They were happy. Good away they went. That's a lot of chocolate.
That's a lot of chocolate.
It's a lot of meanness.
When Marie and Leland Holdsworth, you remember them? When they got married, I was about a 4th, 5th grader, I think. It's down at the school, but that schoolhouse is just down the hill from the Whedon place. And we got used to their water when we first started school. We had to carry water from their place down to school, so we had water to drink. And anyway, they got married and they came down and gave all of us a Hershey candy bar. But if they got back from their honeymoon, and so when they had their 50th anniversary, her brother Galen, remembered him probably. We both remembered that Hershey was, so we said, we're coming back for another candy bar at their 50th, and they had one ready for us.
That's good.
Oh,
Yeah, I took 9 pounds of candy in their house.
They had a welcoming to St. Francis party when I was adopted, and Paul Gorthy gave me a hammer and a saw when I was 4.5. There wasn't a tree left standing, there wasn't a little toy that wasn't beat up, so, well, there's, I think he laughed the whole time. My dad was like, ah. That's been a long time ago.
What's the deal with Daily Bread? I see there it's for sale.
yeah, they're for sale.
Do you not have enough business and close her down, or what happened?
Well, they're never open. You know,
I'm sorry.
they're very seldom open. So I don't know if,
There's Cody.
I really don't know what it is, why they closed, but they did.
Hi, Cody. Gentlemen, I didn't think you were gonna be here today.
What's that?
I thought Leslie said you weren't gonna be here. No. So, I must have misunderstood her. So, how you guys doing? Good. Good. I got a couple things to talk about. The first one, is a bill that we have with the city of Bird City. In 2018, we made an agreement, to back up. The fiber is on that side of the street as the new building in Bird City. And they were having trouble with reliable internet service at the emergency building. And through 3 months negotiation, I made a deal to have the fiber put into the Bird City building. And I paid for that out of the asset forfeiture money. EMS paid $2,000 some for the equipment to beam it across the street, the emergency building. With us investing in the infrastructure, we made a deal with the Bird City City Council that they would pay $100 a month of the internet bill. I was told that they would draw up a warrant They draw up all the paperwork and everything. We left the meeting. It wasn't until I went to go see what the fund had in it to possibly do a transfer, because Next Tech has come to Bird City with fiber, and I wanted to get a competing bid with them against what we already had. And I wanted to make sure there was money in that reimbursement fund if we had to purchase any equipment. That's when I discovered the reimbursement fund was at zero. So I made a few phone calls and I found out that Bird City had never paid that reimbursement to us over 4 years. It was supposed to be $100 a month paid annually on a reoccurring warrant. It never happened. I called, talked to the city clerk, and she was great. And I told her then, you know, I'm not in a hurry, just we need to figure out what's going on and get this resolved some way or another. I left the issue be, and then after the city council meeting, and obviously this is from my point of view, so I'm sure there's two sides to every story. This is my point of view. I was told that they didn't understand what the deal was, that there was only one city councilman left on city council that was there, and we made the deal. And I said, fair enough. I went around to several city councilmen. I explained what the deal was and what they were paying. They were not paying for the sheriff's office's internet. It's $150 a month. The sheriff's office is paying their $50, and they're paying $100 to have it beamed across the street to the building that they own. That split the bill into threes: EMS, fire, and law. And they were paying for 2/3. I was paying for 1/3. I explained the situation to them. I was told, don't worry about it. Well, now that we know what it is, we'll get it paid. And then it became, well, I went back, talked to him a second time, and it was, well, we went into executive session with our lawyer. We can't talk about it, but we need some copies and examples of the bill so we know what we're paying for. I called Sharissa, got examples of the bill, got the invoices from us installing the infrastructure and stuff. And at that point, to be honest, if somebody comes to you and says, we went to executive session with our lawyer, your first thought is they're going to try to fight you legally on it. It was also said to me that, well, you're the one that didn't get this in writing. You know, we never put this in writing. And it kind of gave me the impression that they weren't wanting to pay the bill. I talked to Leslie because they had told me they had talked to their lawyer. I felt the appropriate course of action was to talk to our lawyer. After I talked to Leslie, after contacting the fire chief and the EMS director, I shut the internet off going across the street to the building. At which point, 4 days later, I was contacted by several city councilmen, asked me if I'd turn the internet back on, and they promised that they would pay the bill if I turned the internet back on. I turned the internet back on. The next city council came and went with no further requests for anything else. I provided them the monthly bill, the infrastructure stuff.
And this is in their minutes.
And this is in their minutes. The agreement is in their minutes in 2018, in April 2018, that they made a motion, they seconded, and they approved doing this. They came back and now they wanted a detailed invoice from me. And it kind of made me mad, because the promise was made, if you turn it back on, we promise we'll pay you. No further, if you turn it back on and give us an invoice, we'll pay it. It was just, if you turn it back on, we'll pay you. I felt like that was a broken promise. I feel like the whole time they have reference to their lawyer. They have said things like, you don't have it in writing. I was asked if I had the promise to turn it back on if they pay. I was asked if that was in writing when I called them up and said, listen, you guys promised you would pay me if I turned it back on, and I was met with the statement of, do you have that in writing? And it seems like, you know, not to make the situation immature, but it feels like there's a lot of, well, our fingers were crossed at the time. You know, it seems like I've been promised several times, and I said from the beginning, this isn't a big deal, we'll figure it out. But as it kept escalating, it very much came a carrot on the stick of multiple reasons and multiple excuses of why it wasn't paid, and was turned around onto the county as to, why haven't you got it in writing? How come this isn't done? How come you didn't notice before? All this other stuff. And I'm like, well, originally you guys were the party that was responsible for putting it in writing and creating the warrant, so this would happen. I didn't notice it because I didn't need the money to do the transfer, all this time. It seems like, the whole thing's turned around. I feel like, and as I said, there's two sides to every story. I feel like whenever it's discussed between me and any of the elected officials from Byrd City, I feel like I'm the one that owes them. Like there's, like the roles have reversed, and that I'm the one being ostracized over it. And it's just became a big thing. I've turned it over to Leslie. Leslie handled. I did give her a detailed invoice so she could submit it to the city and try to resolve the issue. They've told me that they're going to pay it when they get a detailed invoice, but I've been told several times they're going to pay it, and they find a reason not to pay it every time. And it's something that has become a mountain out of a molehill, in my opinion. I feel as if Next Tech has come to town and they have put internet fiber and they have stubbed a line to the emergency building. That was what caused this whole thing, was the cost prohibitiveness of running internet across the street. They now have availability to fiber internet at their building. It was supposed to be a 5-year agreement. I wish Leslie was here to talk, but I think we just need to tell them they need to get their own internet from this point forward. If we want to continue and fulfill our agreement for 5 years, we can go to the end of the year doing it the way we're doing it. But I just feel they need to get their own internet there instead of us supplying the internet, all the hoops that they're making us jump through. They used the service for 4 years.
Right. So are you trying to get all the back?
The back pay would be $4,100 is what they owe us back. And then at the end of the year, this year, they'll owe us for 2022. So, but, it started off as the county doing the city a favor. And it ended up being, well, you didn't get this in writing. Well, this, that, it became a multitude of excuses of not paying the bill. And at the end of the day, we, the county, were doing a favor. We spent a ton of money on the infrastructure on it. We provided them internet at the time. A little backstory, the internet was really bad at the emergency building, and they couldn't use it to file mandatory fire reports, things like that. It was so slow. So that is kind of the crust of that. So that's kind of where we're at in that. And that, to be honest with you, it's making me question, as we researched this and we tried finding contracts, and we're not finding up-to-date contracts. We're finding notes scribbled on pieces of paper in the file that haven't been added to the contract, things like that. I know this sounds extreme, but I think it's time to strip down our contract with the city of Byrd City and start from scratch. It makes allusions to things that happened in 2004, but those things aren't documented. We can't find them. It's just an incomplete contract. And I think we need to send them a notice that we want to renegotiate the contract completely from scratch.
Now is that through the commissioners, or is that strictly through the sheriff's department, or both?
Any of the three parties, the way I understand it, talking to Leslie, any of the three parties can do that. The city, the commissioners, or the sheriff.
Okay.
But I don't want to do something without you guys being fully aware of what I'm doing. If I'm going to do something that's extreme, as say, let's strip down the contract and let's start from scratch all over again. To me, that's a very extreme measure, and I don't want to do that without your guys' support and knowledge.
Well, I think you should do whatever you have to do, because it's not, they're not being fair.
No. Who's their lawyer?
Lauren at Middleton. So hopefully through Leslie we have the internet thing solved. And to me, again, it's not back to the $4,100. That was never the point. It was, once I brought it to their attention, it became a whole lot of game playing and a whole lot of, every time they went to discuss it, they discussed it in executive session with their lawyer. And again, that gave me the impression, right or wrong, gave me the impression that they were preparing for a legal fight on paying that bill. I think that would be the general concession of anybody that called somebody and said, what did you guys decide? And they said, well, we're in executive session with our attorney and we can't discuss it. That, I think to anybody, that is a warning that this is gonna turn into a legal
Well,
battle.
I think you have a pretty thorough contract with the city of St. Francis.
Yes, this is not,
That's what you're thinking about, is trying to get that type of
yes,
contract.
yes,
with them.
yes. This does not involve the city of
we
St.
don't-
Francis in any shape, way, or form. This-
No, I know
okay.
that, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
Yeah.
you're thinking. Let's
Yeah.
get it in
Yeah.
good contract.
The last contract I have on file is 2017. The last contract that was approved was in the minutes was 2019. I believe that year, and I'm not certain, because I know we did this with the city of St. Francis, just let it
Renew.
renew on its own.
And I'm fine with getting a contract that does
But I don't have a
that.
copy of it. A week ago, I asked for a copy of it, and I still haven't received it. So
And-
I don't think there's even a contract.
I think there, because there's an email between the two attorneys discussing it about auto renewing, but the problem is there's been so many changes that were discussed, and coming down to it, the issue is that we have had a very casual relationship with the city of Bird City and their council. And there's things that were said, things that were quote-unquote handshake agreements that never got put in writing.
Right.
And now it's becoming issues. Not having those things in writing, like I said, there's scrap notes in the file. There, things like that, but they're not added as amendments to contract. There were handshake agreements along the way of this is what we're doing, this is what we're changing. And I think it's become a mess. I think that it's leading to misunderstandings between the county and the city, and between the city and the county. And I think the only way to solve this without people getting out of hand is just to start anew. Because I think this has the potential of getting out of hand and has potential of causing hard feelings between the city of Bird City and the county of Cheyenne County, where we've had, a long history of being able to work together. And I don't think the citizens of Bird City want it to get out of hand and become an ego match between the two. I just think the best way is to go to ground zero, start over again, have new expectations on both sides, do it right, do it in writing, and stuff. I'm an old farm boy. I love the old handshake way of doing things, but obviously it comes back to bite you, just in this case, where we agreed upon it in a meeting, had minutes that say we agreed upon it, but it was never signed, never documented, and then it leads to hard feelings and everybody being at each other over something as insignificant as a monthly internet bill.
Yeah, because if this gets like a subject for the coffee
Yeah.
shop deals, that's not gonna be good.
No, and that's what I want to try to avoid.
Yeah.
I think, to me, there's two steps. One, they get their own internet. They have the ability now. It's not as prohibitive as it was before when they were gonna have to bore across the street. That solves that issue, and then we start anew with a new contract. I think the county has invested heavily in having a presence in Bird City. I hate to lose that, but on the other hand, like I said, a lot of those things were handshake agreements. There's a lot of little sub part of it, if you read the minutes, where we had little things, simple as the trash service to the building in Bird City. Well, that was all handshake agreement, quote unquote. I mean, it's in the minutes, but it's never written down. And, I think we need to start beginning to write this stuff down. So, and start over anew, if you guys are supportive of that.
Whatever you want to do.
And I'll notify the city of Bird City through Leslie that we want to renegotiate the contract.
Sounds to me like there's just a couple of people that are making this pretty
Yeah,
rough on it.
and I don't want to start the
Yeah.
blame game on individuals and stuff, but like I said, it was very shocking when I was asked if I had it in writing, the promise that if I turned it back on, I'd get paid. I was like, really, this is less than a week old. This is not something that happened, really. And matter of fact, I do have it in writing because it was sent to me in a text, but it has the potential of getting out of control if we don't do something to control it. And to me, that's the two steps to start controlling that. Is advise them we'll finish the contract if they wish to on the 5 years of the internet, but after that they need to have their own plans for their own internet and then start anew on a new law enforcement contract.
Well, that's too bad, because one person, whether it's the one of us or one of the city council, we have no authority to tell you, turn on the internet and we'll pay.
Yeah, and I understood
done by-
that, and I understood that when they
But-
told me that, but it's still, even though I understood that one individual or two or three individuals, because there's actually three of them that said if you turn it back on, we'll promise you get paid. I understand that it's a board and they have to vote, but yet,
You'd have thought they would have voted on it, yeah.
okay, I don't want to get into whatever, but I felt like maybe they should have gone to bat for it when they were at the meeting if they made the promise. So, but I'm not even upset about the broken promise as much as them being questioned, well, do you have that promise in writing? You know, it's like, okay, so I guess we're done with handshake agreements. We're done with being friends. We got to do this through lawyers to get, and I think that's what we have to do. I think we have to step back. We can sit here and trash talk each other all we want, but I think at the end of the day, what we need to do is sit down and have official agreements drawn up and redo them from beginning, from the ground level, because there's so much stuff that's missing out of these agreements that have been discussed at meetings over the years. I've been the sheriff for 10 years. There's been a lot of changes and they're not represented in the contract. There was a lot of agreements made when Craig Van Allen was the sheriff. They're not represented in the agreement. These things haven't been updated. We've just been operating on I hate to use this word, but the good old boy system of getting along. And those days are over when we're dealing with the city of Bird City now. So I just think that's one way to keep everybody in check before this blows up into a big thing.
Right.
Is we just put it all down in writing again and start anew with a clean slate. Because otherwise people are always gonna say, well, 5 years ago you agreed to do this. Well, yeah, but at the same time you agreed to do this, and well, it's not in writing. Well, you know, it's gonna create hard feelings, if we're gonna move forward like this, so. The second thing I have is I did purchase a vehicle. I don't know if it was in the vouchers. Yeah, I don't know if we got it down in time for accounts payable or for this time, so or not. But we did buy a used vehicle for, close to the agreed upon price that we had at the last meeting from Yost Ford, a 2021 Ford F-150. So,
How many miles are on it, Cody?
22,000.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so, and then the third thing I want to discuss with you, is on elected personnel, and I didn't know if we'd go into executive session for that or not.
What do you want, 5 minutes?
5 minutes would be plenty, I think.
Make a motion, we go into executive session for 5 minutes, non-elected personnel.
Second,
So first and second, it go into executive session
wanted
for
to
5
tell
minutes
you some
personnel,
stuff.
non-elected.
So,